Someone just sent me this fascinating article on mice with longer telomeres, so I'm going to read it to you. I'm also going to provide the link for the older males giving longer telomeres. This has nothing to do with older telomeres, but this does have to do with telomeres being longer, and we do know from evidence that older males in a specific age window do confer longer telomeres in the offspring. In humans, it would be late 30s to mid 50s father giving longer telomeres to the offspring. But this is an experiment conducted at the Spanish National Cancer Research Center where they gave mice longer telomeres. It's called Scientists Successfully Create Age-Resistant Mice with Hyperlong Telomeres. Again, this has nothing to do with older fathers, but this does talk about how if you have if you have longer telomeres, you're more disease resistant. And mice and humans are the same when it comes to longer telomeres. If the telomeres are longer, you're healthier. So if your offspring has longer telomeres, you're a healthier offspring. This was written by Sally Robertson, Bachelor of Science, reviewed by Kate Anderton, Bachelor of Science editors, some women scientists on this, October 17, 2019. It says, researchers at the Spanish National Cancer Research Center, CNIO, have shown that it is possible to extend the life of mice without using any gene-modifying technologies. The finding is the result of a study launched some years ago that aimed to investigate mice with hyperlong telomeres. Given the relationship between telomere and aging, telomeres become shorter with age, Maria Blasco and colleagues decided to create mice at CNIO that had hyperlong telomeres in 100% of their cells. The researchers reported that findings in the journal National Communications and demonstrate only positive outcomes. The mice live for longer and in better health than would be expected for their species, while also being free from age-related conditions such as cancer and obesity. So if you have longer telomeres, you're going to be healthier. And again, another way to extend telomeres naturally would be to have a father that is between late 30s and early 50s if you're a human. It says no need for genetic modification. The most important finding for the team was that the increased lifespan and health benefits have been achieved for the first time without genetic modification being needed. This finding supports the idea that when it comes to determining longevity, genes are not the only thing to consider, says Blasco. There is margin for extending life without altering the genes. Telomeres form the end of chromosomes in the nucleus of cells and protect the genetic integrity of DNA. Each time a cell divides, the telomeres shorten a little, so one characteristic of aging is shortened telomeres in cells. The authors state, telomere shortening is considered to be one of the primary causes of aging, given that the short telomeres cause aging of the organism and reduce longevity. Telomerase extends longevity. The telomeres and telomerase group at CNIO has already shown in various studies that stopping telomere shortening by activating the enzyme telomerase, which lengthens telomeres, extends longevity without causing any adverse health effects. Until now, these experiments have been based on techniques that alter gene expression. For example, some years ago, the group developed a gene therapy that promotes the synthesis of telomerase and used it to generate mice that live 24% longer than usual. I've read that paper, without developing cancer or other age-related illnesses. This time, however, the team has not needed to use any gene-altering technologies. Telomere length medical concept and telomeres located on the end caps of a chromosome, resulting in aging by damaging DNA or protection, resulting in living longer or longevity, as a 3D illustration. Image credit Lightspring. You can see a picture of that sort of. Generating telomeres twice as long as usual, and I'm going to provide a link to this. In 2019, the researchers experimented, or I'm sorry, in 2009, the researchers experimented with induced pluripotent sperm, IPS cells, which are stem cells taken from adult organisms that have had their pluripotency ability to differentiate into other cells, into other cell types restored. You will also find this effect in older males. The pluripotency, more gene modifications from this type of sperm. But this is not the sperm that they use. They artificially cause the pluripotent stem cells within sperm to have these effects. But you can also get these effects from an older father in an age window. They just increase the speed in which you could do this. So they might make a pill or something. So you could have your young father, a bunch of age phobia, and still have your long telomere children. The researchers found that once the cells had divided in culture, a certain number of times they acquired telomeres that were twice the usual length. Intrigued by the findings, they investigated whether the same cell could be achieved in normal embryonic stem cells that had been cultivated after being extracted from blastocytes. The team discovered that during the pluripotency phase, certain epigenetic marks on the telomeric chromatin aid the lengthening by telomerase. This enabled the generation of embryonic cells with telomeres that were twice as long as normal. Next, the team wanted to find out whether these embryonic cells with extended telomeres could generate live mice, which the group demonstrated they could indeed do some years ago. That study has also been published in Nature Communications. However, the mice used were chimeras, only 30 to 70% of the cells in their bodies made up of ones with extended telomeres. The mice were in good health, but the team could not rule out that the good health could be attributed to the proper functioning of the unaltered cells that had normal telomeres. Again, older fathers have abnormal telomeres because they're longer in the sperm. I'm going to provide a link to that. In the new study, the researchers have managed to generate mice that have hyperlong telomeres in every single cell of their bodies. The mice live longer, are less likely to develop cancer, and are slimmer. These mice have less cancer and live longer. An important fact is that they are slimmer than normal because they accumulate less fat. They also show lower metabolic aging, which lowers levels of cholesterol and LDL, bad cholesterol, and increased tolerance to insulin and glucose. Age does not damage their DNA as much as it usually would, and their mitochondria function better. These unprecedented results show that longer than normal telomeres in a given species are not harmful, but quite the contrary. They have beneficial effects such as increased longevity, delay metabolic age, and less cancer, concludes the team. More specifically, the average lifespan among the mice with extended telomeres is 13% longer than usual. The metabolic changes that were seen are also important because this is the first time that a clear relationship between telomere length and metabolism has been observed. No need for genetic modification. However, the most striking finding for the researchers is that longevity was extended without any alterations to gene expression being required. Epigenetic marks on the telomeric chromatin facilitate telomere lengthening in the pluripotency phase by modifying the work of genes but without altering them. Extending the time during which embryonic cells remain in pluripotency to generate mice with longer telomeres, protected from cancer and obesity, and with increased longevity has been enough to make mice have longer telomeres and live longer. We present a new model of mouse in which aging has been delayed without any genetic manipulation. In the journal references, there are 2 journal references. This is written by Sally Robertson. Sally has a bachelor's degree in biomedical sciences, BSc. She is a specialist in reviewing and summarizing the latest findings across all areas of medicine, covered in major high-impact, world-leading international medical journals, international press conferences, and bulletins from governmental agencies and regulatory bodies. At News Medical, Sally generates daily news features, life science articles, and interview coverage. You could download a PDF of this story, and I'm going to provide a link to the HTML version at the end of this video in the description below. Find me on Instagram, LucasWerner79.